In America, you got private property rights, and you don't have the right to tell him what to do with his property.
This is outrageous. Where are the armed men who come in to take the protesters away? Where are they? This kind of behavior is never tolerated in Boracua. You shout like that, they put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists.
Okay, and for the win, it is the Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight. Literally, we got sound 2.5 seconds before we came on with the dead air.
Oh my gosh! And it's KMYC.
KMYC. Okay,
Yes.
well, I'm a little.
The Patriot. Are we there yet?
Okay, Dad, slow down there just a little bit. Calm down. Now you're yelling at the mic.
Are we there yet?
Hey, okay, so, wow, unbelievable. We made it on the air, and I think it was our own fault for my skillful
I blame
radio.
Andy. I think he just screwed everything up.
I think it was a miracle.
I actually do think it was a miracle. We
Okay.
were scrambling so much we didn't have time for our prayer or Bible study.
Okay, so you are all expecting to hear me. I'm going to give a little rundown real quick. You were all expecting to hear me yesterday with Andy Vasquez on the radio. Well, everybody said that he was a little hard to work with, which I understand. I am too. I'm not the easiest guy to get along with or anything like that. My job lasted literally about 35 seconds. We got into it at the unlocking of the door. We made it to the booth, and I was fired. So it's shortest job I've ever had. I've actually, I got fired from McDonald's. I tried to pull a guy through the drive-through window one time, and I got fired for that job. And I got fired from this job.
Were you trying to pull Andy through the door?
No, I wasn't actually. And you know what's funny is he said that we don't have a dog in this fight out here in Yuba County because none of us live here. Well, I know Randy lives here, and he's on our radio show.
Yes.
But the fact is what I tried to tell him was every time that I fill up my vehicle whenever I'm going fishing up at Bullard's Bar, and I pay that 1% sales tax, that I have a dog in the fight. And he got really upset. Well, Andy, if you're listening today, I want to tell you, just because we don't see eye to eye 100% of the time does not make us enemies. If I can see eye to eye with you 70% of the time, that's an ally. And I don't know where you don't get that idea. But the fact is if I saw eye to eye with you all the time, that'd mean one of us is a kiss ass. And that's just the way I see it. And you're never going to see eye to eye with everybody all the time. Have you never argued with your wife? I mean, it happens.
Oh, we never argue.
I know we don't, but I'm a kiss ass, apparently.
Well, it's true. I mean, it just makes total sense. You are not always going to agree 100% with somebody.
Okay.
And you're right. If you do, one of you's lying.
Exactly. Somebody's a liar. So, anyways, that's enough on that. I will probably bring it up later again because that is the shortest job I've ever had in my life. But guess what? We're joined today by Brandon Barnes, candidate for Sutter County Sheriff. And I would say after all the forums, in my opinion, he is the front runner for the sheriff's office, for the office of sheriff. And we're just really glad to have him in office. And he's talked about his plan of action, his Barnes plan of action. Is that right, Brandon?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so that's the right term to use because you know how I use terms pretty loosely. So we want to have him go over that today, and we're going to get to ask him a few questions. And we've got him for about 15 more minutes. So we'd like to get into that and get him to go over that and then kind of talk to him about what he's got planned for when he does become sheriff. Because right now, looking at everything, he is going to be the man that's going to be our sheriff is what I'm hoping. And I know Tom's smiling at me because I know he likes Jeff Pierce.
I like Brandon, but I like Jeff too.
You like Jeff better.
Yeah.
You can say it.
There's a lot of that going around. He's sitting right next to Brandon, so we're making him squirm.
And I got
weapons in.
I would say Jeff is a very nice man.
No, that's Dennis's role. Is a nice guy. Jeff actually has some experience, I think.
Traffic cop.
Anyways, so we want to get rolling, but to give you an idea of throwing people under the bus like Tom, I got thrown under the bus yesterday, so I understand how that goes.
How does it feel?
We'll get into that later. So, yeah, you guys have at it and talk to Brandon. I got to take a break for a minute because
You've been scrambling.
Yeah,
you've been scrambling. We understand. Yeah, we've been seeing it.
All right,
Go
you
ahead,
guys have
take your
at it.
break. Yes, and we'll talk to the man with the plan over here,
I
Brandon
appreciate
Barnes.
it. Well, thanks for having me on today. I'm very honored to be here. So I don't know if there's questions or if you just kind of want me to jump into things, but obviously as one of the three candidates, I thought it was important to just share with everybody my background and how I think that translates to what our sheriff's department in Sutter County actually needs to be. As a resident of Sutter County, and I've lived over there for, more than 20 years, I've just seen the level of service deteriorate over that period of time. And, with all the budget constraints that we have and staffing issues, now more than ever, it's important that we have a good working relationship with our community. We need them. As a member of the community, I like to contribute. And if we can just bridge that gap and be more actively engaged with the community, I think that's going to go a long way to making us a better department and a better county, quite frankly. And so, part of my plan of action is to go back to a true community-based policing model. And kind of the chief thing among that is a community response team. And so with the lack of resources, it makes sense to me that we have kind of a proactive team that has the flexibility to go out and just be engaged in the community. And, if there's nothing going on any particular day, they can go to the schools and they can interact with our kids, or they can stop by, something going on at one of our churches and just, be present and interact with people, stop by some of the homeless shelters, whatever that situation is. But at the end of the day, there are challenges, whether it's homeless issues or some of our agricultural thefts. You look across the board, school safety is a big one. And so I just thought it would make sense to have a proactive team made up of both sworn and non-sworn personnel. And, I'd like to expand that outside the sheriff's department. I think that if the, police department would like to be engaged in that, that would make sense, because a lot of the homeless issues we deal with are transitory and they affect both of our jurisdictions. Code enforcement should absolutely be engaged in that and a part of that. Highway patrol, health and human services, faith-based organizations. I mean, anybody that wants to be a part of this team so that when we have a problem, we have resources and we can take direct, proactive plan of approach. And so, for an example, if, social media right now, we tend to get a lot of threats relating to schools, and sometimes you can't always pin that down exactly. And it takes a little while to investigate some of those and backtrack the source of the threat. And so if we have the ability to immediately respond and deploy resources to a particular school where we think there might be issues, I think that's of benefit. We all agree that, our public safety and the safety of our children is important. And so just having that community response team with that flexibility is kind of a key component of that to start with. And so that's kind of one of the first things I want to implement. And I don't know if there's any questions on that, or I can move on to talking about other things. But
I had a question. So we're interested as, we like the Constitution, and we like the constitutional sheriff program. And so we're kind of interested in a posse of the sheriff.
okay.
And so what you're describing as sworn and non-sworn, how would that relate to a posse? Would a posse be non-sworn, or how? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the sheriff's department now, they have contingents of that. They have a mounted posse and they have an aero squadron, and those are volunteers, which kind of leads into some of the other categories that I have. I mean, obviously, I think that, having a citizens academy and being able to educate our community and then develop that relationship beyond the academy, so that if we have a need in the community, we have people that we can rely on to, be crossing guards or help bridge the gap, in the ag community or something like that. I mean, if you're a part of the Farm Bureau and you go through our Citizens Academy, then you're a great resource to me as the sheriff. And I want to take advantage of that in all aspects, because I think that in the end, that's what's going to make us better. I mean, as I said, they have some staffing challenges right now. There's absolutely no way we can be everywhere at once. And so the better that we can foster that relationship with the community and having people working with us and alongside of us, the better we're all going to be in the end. Because at the end of the day, I kind of cited the other day, Sir Robert Peel, and some people are familiar with him. But, the police are just members of our community. That's who we're made up of. We just get paid full time to do really the duties that are all of our responsibility. And so once we accept that and we work together to better our community, I think we'll be in a good spot, and we'll see a lot of improvements from our sheriff's department.
Yeah. Well, I agree 100% that it's all of our responsibility. And so, and another thing too, when we go to these meetings, we hear a lot about, we need more money. We need more money. We're all we're always hearing that, and frankly, I'm kind of sick of hearing it because we're Tea Party members, and you know what that stands for? Taxed enough already.
Right.
So I liked what Chris Carlos said at his forum this week. He said, you know, we have so many investigators in the DA's office, and then we're scrambling for officers in the rural county. You know,
Right.
I think you said there
it's-
was 7 investigators. How does that? How many beat
Deputies.
officers do you have for the sheriff?
So they have, as I understand it, they have 10 beats. And so I actually, just to clarify, I work at Yuba County right now. And so I don't have direct knowledge of the inner workings of Sutter County Sheriff's Department, with the exception to say, I mean, I have access to the same public information that everybody else does. And so they have 31 allocated positions. So if you take Live Oak off the map because they contract, right? And then you take Yuba City off the map because they have their own police department, you're looking at the rest of the area that you have to provide services to. And so with 31 allocated positions, I think you should be able to provide a quality level of service. The problem that they have is not all those positions are filled, and I'm told that they're probably losing up to 5 more officers. And so the staffing levels are going to be lower than 20, active people out working the street. You start factoring in things like, sick leave, and you factor in, if somebody has a baby and they miss, work for a period of time, all those things factor into your schedule. And so you've really got to find creative ways to work around that, and that's where having the community on your side comes back to help and forging those good relationships. But I agree with you, the financial aspect of it, we need to respectfully address the board, and I've said that before, to try to, one, get those officers prevailing wages so that they'll stay and they'll be invested in the department. And then beyond that, we have to look countywide and determine, as citizens, what is our priority? Is it the health department? Is it the DA's office? And I'm not advocating, that we just start, cutting jobs. But as people, retire and those positions become available, do we want to, reallocate those positions somewhere else in the county? And I'm always going to be an advocate of public safety, and I'm always going to, ask the board to provide as much, resource and support as they can to the sheriff's department.
Now, when you say prevailing wages, us in construction, we think of $75 an hour, because if we work on a public works job, that's about the rate that we pay. Are
Right.
you talking that kind of pay?
Well, I don't know dollar-wise. I will tell you that a Yuba County deputy, when you get out of the academy and you start at Yuba County, you make $800 more a month than a starting Sutter County deputy. And if you look at them across the board and you compare them with surrounding agencies like Yolo and Butte and Yuba, the ones that are similar in comparison to size and population, across the board, they're making less money there. Dispatch, corrections, support staff, they are all making less money than their surrounding counterparts. And so, I've had conversations with some of those guys now, and they're literally leaving to go to Yolo County or Woodland Police Department because they make $1,000 more a month.
He's talking about a competitive wage,
That's-
Tom.
yeah.
Not
That's
a
what I was
not a
thinking, too.
prevailing wage.
We'll get into Sutter
Yes.
County wages here in a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
There's a lot of fat to trim.
Yeah, it's on
A
our
lot of
agenda to
fat
talk
trim,
about
yeah.
Right.
trimming the fat. We like to trim the fat here on our radio.
You wouldn't know it by looking at me, but hey.
We like to eat, but we want to trim the fat in other areas, I should say.
Yeah, no, that was just one thing that stuck out in my mind when we heard the DA candidates speaking about how many positions there were as a DA investigator. And to me, that just seemed like overkill. And it's like, well, if you're always thinking you maybe need more coverage over here at the sheriff's office, it seems like there could be some kind of a transfer happen there to get the coverage where maybe it's more appropriate. I don't know.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I would expect that all of the department heads are going to fight for their departments. I mean, that's part of the process. And then, ultimately you work with the board and you try to decide, what's best for the people, and you develop a plan to, provide better services. And so that's part of it.
Yeah.
What's best for the people, that should be the main frame of mind. You know what I mean? In any public service job, what's best for the people.
We'll get into that too.
Yeah, and that's what we're all about,
Yeah.
what's best for the people.
James.
We talked earlier, you mentioned about school safety.
Right.
And the thing that that just boggles my mind is how the state of California just thinks it's the greatest idea to say, well, no guns allowed on campus.
Right.
Well, okay, so let's just announce that anybody who wants to do harm can go there and not have any resistance to that.
Correct.
And just have, a free range on Children Day.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Why don't you just stay silent on it and let the CCW holders carry as they're permitted to?
Right.
And if there happens to be a teacher who is a CCW holder, well, then by all means. It doesn't have to be announced. It doesn't have to be talked about. You can
Right.
just completely stay silent and be in a better position than you are right now, stating it's free range day on children.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Jason, I was just going to say that, I think you guys probably, because I'm a peace officer, you always assume that I'm carrying. But if you didn't know me to be a peace officer, you would be none the wiser.
Mm-hmm.
And, until that, that opportunity presents itself where you have to take action, how are you going to know somebody's carrying, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah, it's concealed.
Right.
There's a reason why it's
Exactly,
called
right.
concealed.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Right.
And if these people who are so against guns are so afraid of them, they just think they're so dangerous. If they had any idea when they're going to a Republican convention how many guns are in the room, I mean, for crying out loud, they're not just going off by accident.
No, absolutely.
Right.
I feel much safer, quite frankly.
An armed society is a polite society.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned the other night at one of the forums. I mean, when is the last time you've opened up the headlines and seen a CCW carrier did something that was, ridiculous and got them front page coverage? It doesn't happen because we are all responsible gun owners and law-abiding citizens who care about our community. That's the bottom line.
But if you listen to the libtards, they're like, guns are going to fall out of the holsters on the ground. If
Yeah.
everybody's carrying, there's going to be guns laying everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And then a child's going to pick it up and, they just fall out of the holsters all the time. And then they just go off when they hit the ground.
Yeah, I've never lost my gun out of my holster. So
Me neither. I can't believe
You
it.
should have a Liberty holster.
Yes, you
I'm
should.
law abiding to the best that I can be. That's where I'm at because there's too many laws in my opinion.
Well, yeah, half the time you don't even
Yeah.
know you're breaking a law. There's so
Right.
many laws.
Not me. I obey every law all the time. I don't break the speed limit.
Nope.
Nothing.
Yes,
Perfect.
you're a
You're
good
perfect.
example for
You
us.
don't break traction either.
Not at all.
you're going to be a good example in the Citizens Academy, Jason. I just want you to know that.
Yes. Now, hey, can I ask you about the community policing? Okay, because I talked to a guy the other day when I was out on a job, and he told me that he was getting burglarized time and time and time again. So after about the fourth time, in the middle of the night, he heard someone in his truck. So he went out there and he gave him the baseball bat program.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't
What,
know.
Yeah.
what is the
Yeah, what is the
baseball?
baseball?
Well, I'm
program,
going to
yeah.
leave that to
Similar
your
to the
imagination.
flashlight
Well,
program.
when you say program, it sounds like there's something implemented that everybody participates in. So
Yes, it was implemented.
Batting practice.
It's a one-on-one program, and it resolved his issue just about that quick. And when he went back in, and then he said when he got up to go to work, the street was clear.
Okay.
No more issues.
So I mean,
Problem solved.
that's community policing that I was thinking of, but I don't think you're thinking of
Yeah,
that, are
probably
you,
not
Brian?
in those terms. I think we're trying to present a positive public image. Well, and I will tell you, I mean, I've said this before as well, force always has to be reasonable. And so without having more information about the overall circumstances, I would be curious to know if he was continuously getting burglarized. Was he calling and reporting it? How far away does he live? Is he in a rural area, urban area? I mean, there's a lot of questions that come into play there in my mind to be
Yes.
able to answer that honestly and accurately.
But you've heard the slogan when it's critical for seconds, the police are minutes away, right? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So I mean, sometimes things have to be handled by the person.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say that in the rural areas, if you catch a guy red-handed, you want to do something, right, to hold him, or you want to stop the continual rampage on your property.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would say, back to it's got to be reasonable, and you do have a right to lawfully detain somebody. And so the reasonableness of that and how you go about that will be looked at.
Okay.
Okay, we got to get back to the Barnes plan of action. I think we covered one item.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a half hour into the show.
Hey, no
also,
problem.
So let's move it along.
So I'll just touch on a couple other things real quickly then while I'm here.
Some of your favorite ones.
Yeah, I think the boots on the ground thing is good. It occurred to me while I was out campaigning that, we all do this when we're candidates in any particular race because it's campaign season, but what goes on the rest of the time? And so, my thought is to get out there and to consistently walk our communities and invite, again, other people, whether they're from, other departments or, religious leaders in our community, things like that. Let's just go out. Let's knock on some doors. Let's set up shop at a park and invite people to come out and just talk to us and be accessible and let people know that, as the top law enforcement officer in the county, I am accessible to the community, as are other people. And I think that goes a long way. The one thing I've learned through this process is everybody wants to tell me what their concerns are. They're concerns, and you got to be able to address them. But if you don't break down those communication barriers and make yourself self-accessible, sometimes you're just not going to know about them.
What is your thought about the uniform all the time? Like today you're dressed a plaid shirt, short sleeves, look like a normal guy.
Right.
That that you can approach. I have a problem with the uniform all the time.
Right.
I think there's a balance, but I think the uniform all the time is not a good idea. I wonder what your thought is on that.
Well, look, I think it serves a purpose in terms of, command presence and being the head of an organization, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's absolutely a time and a place for it. If you're going to go address the board, you should be in uniform and you should be looking, high and tight. If you're going to be out in the community, perhaps a polo shirt with, your name and some clear identification so that people recognize and can identify you as the sheriff of the county. Mm-hmm. I think those are important things as well. But yeah, if we're out walking and knocking on doors, I probably wouldn't be doing it in uniform. I would be doing something a little more relaxed and approachable.
And don't clash your plaids.
Yeah, so I was hacking on Bill earlier because he's got on plaid shorts and a plaid shirt.
They do not match. Bill, you could have called me. I would have told you.
He's
My
dressed-
plan was
he's-
drive directly here.
It's radio.
He's dressed for radio. Yeah.
He heard there was tacos.
If I didn't need my pockets, I would have just wore my boxers.
So if I have time, Jason, I'll just touch on a couple other things.
Yeah,
Dine with the
definitely.
Deputy is very similar to the Coffee with the Cop.
But
I think
I'm more apt to do Dine with a Deputy than
Right.
Coffee with a Cop. Because
Yeah, and so
there's food involved.
well, right, exactly.
I'm there.
So, my thought is to schedule these throughout the county, advertise, and again, just make us accessible, be able to go out into the communities that we don't get out to all the time, within the Sheriff's Department, like Robbins and East Nicholas and places in Sutter, Meridian. I've been out in Meridian walking, and it's interesting because they say they get little to no service out there unless there's a problem. And just by going out there and walking and interacting with people, I can't tell you how many people have called and asked for campaign signs out there because they're like, we love seeing you out here. And so I think there's a definite need to be out in those areas and engaged. And so that's just another avenue to do that.
Well, do you know if there's a deputy assigned to each portion of the county, or how does that work? Do the citizens have a report? Because I live in the city. I know whenever I did live in the mountains, we knew our game warden and we knew our
Right.
sheriff's deputy because I lived in Berry Creek, and my dad had a guide service, and we knew our sheriff and we knew our game warden.
Right.
And I don't know if that's still the case, but it really worked out nicely because you had a rapport with the fella.
Yeah, and that's just, really a big part of community policing is trying to get resident deputies that actually, reside in or live close to these communities. I know there is a resident deputy in the South County. He was taken and given a specialty assignment as a school resource officer, but he was the only one assigned to the South County. And so basically what they're doing is they're responding from the main office to go out there and, patrol during the course of their shift. And so we really got to get back to trying to identify and find people that reside in these communities that will, be allowed to take their car home and be that face of the sheriff's department that everybody knows and everybody has access to.
Yeah, it looks like that would be kind of just a standard already set. If you live in South County, then more than likely that's going to be your area.
Right.
Because you already live there.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm not in that position either, and I know there's a lot of things. That
Yeah, I
come
mean, sometimes things come up and somebody
Exactly.
wants to promote to detectives or something like that, and it takes that person out of that area, but there's got to be some thought and some succession planning that goes into that, and I just don't see a lot of that happening now currently.
Well, apparently there's people who've been there for 20 years that want to be a traffic officer for 20 years straight. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I just
Right.
hear that in other
Some people are
places.
just happy where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Until they're
fine.
not.
Well, but see, that's the thing.
So I
I
wanna
mean,
be sheriff.
yeah, regardless of, people's skill sets or what they do that makes them happy, everybody has value. And so, if you want to be the person that writes a bunch of traffic citations, then, find a four-way stop near a school and handle business. But
Yeah.
conversely, if you're, you like the community policing pace, then, stop in at schools and spend a little time at lunchtime interacting with kids and represent the sheriff's department in a positive manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also been mine, and you don't have to comment on this if you don't want to, but it's just, this is my opinion, and I'm kind of wanting to get a consensus out there, is do you think it's harder to go from city police officer to sheriff rather than sheriff to city police officer? It looks like to me, just what I've seen in the sheriff's department, is you have to be more diplomatic because you're more on your own. You don't have backup right around the corner. You may be out in in way east in Yuba
Right.
County, and you're by yourself. There's nobody there to help you. You
Correct.
need to learn how to deal with a confrontation with multiple people by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and currently working at Yuba County, we experience that quite a lot up in our foothills area. Your communication skills are essential because sometimes you have to use those to buy yourself time.
Exactly.
Right? And so, when backup's 20, 30 minutes away, absolutely, you have to learn to be diplomatic and you need to learn to buy time a little bit. And those are just traits you pick up, over the course of your career and you become proficient at.
And it's always been my example that diplomacy is saying nice doggy while you're looking for a rock.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I always told people, because there would be some, indicators that they were getting ready to run, and you could pick up on that.
Yeah.
And then so I would tell them, I said, so are you going to run? Because I really need to stretch, right? I'm getting old. I don't want to blow my hamstring out. But all you do is you break their mental cycle where they start thinking, he's on to me, right? And in the meantime, you're on the radio and you're getting backup rolling your way. And so you buy yourself a little bit of time and you hope to, shift the advantage into your favor.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me, I like the term peace officer more than I like law enforcement officer. Okay.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of being able to squash the situation in a peaceable manner, if possible, and everybody can go home,
Right.
if possible.
Well, and I think that goes back to the Old West. I mean, that was your job, was to uphold the peace in the town, right?
Uh-huh.
And so that's where that term came from. And absolutely, I think that's applicable now, just like it was back then.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that that's what COP stands for, is conservator of the peace. They said that's where that term came from.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't ever.
I don't
looked
either,
it up.
but that
I was told
sounds
that.
logical.
It makes sense. It sounds like right, but I don't know.
I had, I'll never forget this, when I was raising my boys, and we had a little go-kart. And so this would be, 15, 20 years ago. And the kids were riding it up and down the street. So somebody complained and called the police. So the officer that came to the door was such a nice guy. And, he was just, he was good at what he did. And he just said, hey, they can't run up and down the street.
Right.
But he was a peace officer. And when he left, I had a great respect for the guy.
Absolutely.
So much that I still remember this story to today, So,
Yeah, I mean, you never know what influence you're going to have on someone's life until much later. And, I have people come up to me all the time that talk about, particular interaction I had with them. And, I'm always very glad to know that, despite differences and despite, the way we were raised or, whatever direction life has taken us, that we still find common ground with the word respect. And so I've always been very proud of that. And I like to, when I come into contact with people, there's that old saying, you get more with sugar than you do with salt. And I've always just kind of abided by that and tried to treat everyone with respect, especially now being a jail commander and working in a correctional setting. You have to understand that these people have a story, and that is what resulted in them being where they're at today. And so, you just got to find common ground and be able to interact with one another. That's an important aspect of the job.
All right, let's let him finish up so he can get out of here because I know he's got walking to do and everything else. And plus, I've got people to beat on. Sorry.
Well, I'll just say that, if anybody's interested in more information, my Barnes plan of action is available through my website, which is barnesforsheriff.com. So I just ask everybody to do their research and look at all three candidates that are in this race. I believe I am the only candidate that has presented a comprehensive plan for bettering our community and bettering the sheriff's department. And I also have the experience and the education and the training to carry that plan out. And so I think if you combine those two aspects and you look at all the candidates objectively, I'm confident that I'm the best choice to be the next sheriff of Sutter County. And so I hope everybody else will come to that conclusion and they'll show up and vote June 5th and we'll get this done.
I have. Tammy has. I can't speak for the other two guys in the room.
Yes.
He's holding a pin. I don't know what that means.
That means I want to say something.
Oh, please do.
Yes. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
That's because you set the pin down.
You gotta hold the pin up.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, Brandon. I mean, we really do. We know you're busy right now, but honestly, the forums, you've just been beating on the guys. I mean, not that's the wrong term. You haven't been beating on them. You've been really good with your answers, and you've been very friendly and just straightforward with the guys. I think you've ran a really, really, really clean campaign.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
But I think for what I've seen, you're the best man for the job, and we're really pulling for you as much as we can. And like I say, I just hope you can win it right out of the chute and be done with it, so it takes a lot of stress off your plate.
Yeah, I appreciate
and we can just
that,
move
Jason.
forward. So.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, my wife and I, we decided very early on, we're members of this community, and we have children that are members of this community. And so win, lose, or draw, we still have to interact with, the other candidates.
Exactly.
And so there's no reason to spend time trying to tear people down. If you look at my Facebook page, everything that I post and my team posts is positive, and I'm trying to stay in my lane and just influence what I can control. You know what I mean? And if I can't control it, then it's negativity, and I brush it to the side and I move forward.
Well, and the thing I like about the way you and Jeff both have been is, regardless of the forum, you've both been more than cordial, stayed the whole thing, stayed the course. The Constitution class my wife put on, you guys were both there. I mean, you've really shown that you want to be part of the community and do everything you can to be sheriff. And that's very impressive, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I had the question now. Do you think that you'll be able to pull the money that you need for your department out of the county budget and convince the county supervisors of it instead of opting for more taxes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an advocate of raising taxes. I think that if you look within the sheriff's department budget, I think there are areas that we need to look at. As an example, they have what they call a COPS fund. And if you look back over the 10 years of the budget, it's been increased each year. This year in the last budget, it was upwards of around $340,000. And the budgets that are posted online always have the same language, which is it's at the discretion of the sheriff. He approaches the board and they figure out what they're going to spend it on. And so, I think if you were to do an audit of the budget and, look for cuts where you could, I think there's some room within its own budget to make improvements. And then, beyond that, again, you have to work with the board and try to determine general fund dollars and how those are best being allocated throughout the county.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
I don't care. I don't want to pay any more tax.
You're listening to The Patriot, 1410. KMYC
There you go.
104.3.
All right. Well, we'll let Brandon get out of here, but thank you very much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
If you want to hang out about 20 minutes, you probably don't want to hang out that long. We can do this other part of your radio, or you can run back out next weekend and we can get it done.
I can come back next week.
Okay.
That's fine.
Maybe we can have you on, and maybe we can get a few more minutes of your time next weekend then.
Absolutely.
We'll have you a full member of the radio show before long.
I don't think he's actually listened to the radio show, so he may not want to do that.
I'll come back if Bill can dress appropriately. How about that?
All right, guys.
Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
now he's not too plaid. You can't get undressed just because it's radio, Bill. Come on, dude.
It is just radio.
All right.
Now he's just down to his home of the proud, brave USA.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. T-shirt.
Yes, he's got his colors on.
Okay, well, hey. What have we,
I've got to play a ad here real quick.
Okay, you're
Or-
going to launch one of our commercials?
Yeah, I got to launch a commercial if I can. It's the Jeff Pierce commercial. Yeah.
That's appropriate. We're on the topic of
it
sharing.
Yes, we are.
You know,
That was a lot of fun. That was awesome. He spoke very well. I'm glad he came out to talk to us a little bit.
As second command, I've served as a second command deputy for over 35 years. The last 7 as second command as undersheriff. So I know every inch of this sheriff's office from budget to patrol. Being a sheriff takes more than just wearing a gun and a badge. It takes integrity, experience, toughness, and knowledge.
I know all the candidates and what it takes to be sheriff. Jeff Pierce has the experience and the integrity we need. He is the best choice for Sutter County Sheriff.
Without question, Jeff Pierce is the right choice for sheriff. He has the experience needed to halt the expansion of drugs, tackle homeless problems, protect Second Amendment rights, and keep our neighborhoods safe.
We need Jeff Pierce's toughness and experience. The best and most qualified person for sheriff in Sutter County is Jeff Pierce.
All right, and we're back.
And we're back.
yeah.
So,
So we visited a couple of forums this week
Yes, we did.
We did.
and a rib feed off.
oh yeah, the rib feed.
Yeah. And
If Houck doesn't make sheriff, he can be the busboy because he did really
He
well
did
at
it,
busting
yes.
cable.
he was
very
very
good at
helpful.
that.
He was
Very
staying
helpful.
busy. Yep.
Yeah, he was.
So the 2 forums that happened this week,
Not Jeff. I'm sorry, Dennis.
did you do that again? Well, I'm not even noticing
I know.
anymore.
I
because,
don't know why I have those two guys confused.
KCYM.
yeah.
Are we
Oh,
off the
poor
air?
Jason.
You know what? I had a very stressful morning. Nothing was working,
I know.
and it was due to my own fault, apparently. And yeah, so let me just cut me some slack today,
Hey,
guys.
it's
Come on.
live radio. This is what you get. It's live
Almost
radio.
as good as live TV.
I feel like I'm getting that whatever Tom called it, the bat. What was it?
Oh, the bat program.
The bat program. That's what I feel like I'm getting right
Are you
now.
getting
Kinda
that
like
program?
that. That's
Getting
The baseball
the
bat program.
That's similar to the flashlight program.
Hey, look,
Yes.
Randy's in here, so
They
now we
make
can.
good neighbors.
I mean, since Randy's in here, now we can speak about Yuba County because now we have a Yuba County resident in here. So we have a dog.
We actually have a
in
dog.
the
We do
fight.
have a dog in this fight.
So now we have a dog in the fight. So now we can talk about Yuba County as much as we'd like.
We're going to talk about Yuba County anyway.
Yes, we are. Well, we got to pick up where we left off last week and give our listeners, if we have any. Sometimes I wonder.
They're both listening.
But you know what? They're both here.
They're both
Maybe,
listening.
maybe they can call in real quick. No, we got to give them pick up where we left off last week. Last week we ran out of time, and we were just about to get in some salary stuff.
Ooh, salary.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you know, if you go to transparentcalifornia.com and look up, well, for instance, Sutter County. Sutter County's got 1,093 employees. I had to go to the 7th page. The 7th page, 50 salaries per page. I went to the 7th page before I could find any total pay below $100,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
How's that?
Yeah, that's heavy.
In Sutter County.
In Sutter County.
Wow.
And I tell you, the psychiatrists are kicking it down over there.
How much, Bill?
439,000.
A year.
Yeah.
439. And
How many sheriff's deputies would that buy?
How much is that a
Right.
month?
Well, I got
More
my
than I
little
made.
calculator right here.
You guys know
That's
it doesn't work that way.
$36,583 a month. And 33 cents.
Well, they might be putting
Wasn't
in
that
200 hours.
Wasn't
a
that
month.
figure with benefits though?
That's with benefits. That's
Okay,
Yeah,
total
so
that's-
pay,
so it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does.
It does because you have to pay it all.
$36,583 a month. Wow.
No, wait a minute. How much? 36,000.
And $583.33.
Wait a minute. Wait a
times
minute. Sutter
12.
County.
He's the one with the calculator.
That's $439,000.
How much does a drywaller make?
Not that much.
No.
Well, when I did it, it was 2 cents a square foot, my friend.
You know what the median salary for a private individual in Sutter County is?
All right, give it to me.
$37,000. They make a whole $1,000 more in a year.
37,000. Divide that by 12. That's $3,083 a month. Now that's like most of the people I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the fire chief? Do you have that in there?
Ooh, fire chief.
Is that city and county or all public employees? Huh?
No, that was just county.
Oh, okay.
We've got, oh, good Lord, 3,000. Well, I got to get back to page 1. I'm on page 7. I had to go to page 7 to find the under 100,000. Of course, page 7 at 350 lines, it ends at 97,000. So, So Hardeep, Christopher, these are psychiatrists: 439,000, 399,000, 388,000. 326,000, and poor old Scott Mitnick, he comes in at 325.
Okay, 325 is the lowest salary for the psychiatrist.
No, we got a couple. 298.
Oh, okay, 298,000. That is $24,833 a month.
Yeah, hey, Amanda's kicking down over 2.
Okay, lots of people make lots of money in the county.
Wow.
Yes, they
Big
do,
time.
and in the city
So
too.
that's why you heard us crying a little bit about raising taxes on the people. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
the sheriff department is, or every debate that we've gone to, every forum, we've heard the same old song and dance.
Money,
We
money,
need more
money.
money. We need more money. We need more money.
It would have been nice to ask Brandon while he was here what he could do with $500,000. So then we could just fire one doctor and a couple of assistants and be good to go. I mean, we could give him quite a
I
bit
think
more money.
Burt Manuel already had that suggestion, which
Yeah.
is, headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
But one thing that I recall from the forum, I did hear when Brandon was discussing the fact of the budget, he never once indicated that to resolve their, staffing issue, they would go to raising taxes or, looking for more money. He always focused on, we're working with what we have. What can we do with what we have? And, if you just, I don't know if we have that in sound bites today, but I recall he spoke very well on how he was going to resolve that issue of needing, to maybe bolster staffing somewhat or bolster their incomes and make it more appealing for them, be more competitive. So that was one thing I noticed, is he was not about raising taxes.
A lot of us in the private sector, when we need more money, you know what we got to do?
Work harder.
Work harder. Yes. Work longer.
Well, and today we even threw
It
it out
all
there.
involves the word work.
You're all union, right?
Non-union. Yeah.
Well, today we even threw it out there, about how Amanda has 7 investigators. And Brandon wasn't about taking from other parts of the county. He's like, we can make it work on the budget that we got, or try to, and not worry about, now if those positions come available, then maybe we could see about it. But he's not worried. He's not really worried about taking other people's jobs either.
No, but he was worried about losing personnel to other counties that had more money.
We've
And
already
that,
lost.
and that's keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, you can take that to infinitum, right?
Yes, because some other county might get a windfall and they'll raise all their salaries up, and then we got to chase after that.
Well, I think that's
this is nuts.
That's the biggest issue we have right now in these counties with the retirement funds.
Yes,
right, because they kept giving more to compete with Joe, and Joe was giving more to compete with.
And all of the negotiations is a closed session. We can't be privy to any of that, because it's after all, it's only our money they're spending.
It's back to the same old thing we talked about a while back, and that was from Frederick Bastiat, plunder.
The
Plunder.
perversion of the law.
Yes, and plundering the people.
Plundering the
So,
people.
There's got to be some adjustments made in the program.
Hey, stop crying. Stop whining.
I know of a
Stop
couple
all
of
your
good,
whining over there.
of a couple of good deputies we've lost up in the foothills that went to work for. I believe they went to Yuba City Police Department because more money.
More money. It's always more money is the issue, huh?
Yep.
Yep. So going back to the campaign things that were happening last week, both Wednesday and Thursday, you had a couple candidate forums. The first was hosted by Chamber of Commerce and Appeal Democrat, and it was held at the City Council chambers. And then the very next night, Thursday, the same thing, same forum, same folks, but it was hosted by the Sutter County Republican and Democratic Central Committees. So we got two shots at it. So if you missed the first one, you could go to the second one.
Well, you would have missed half the DA on the second one.
Oh, that's right. There was a difference.
There
Yes,
was a
the DA
difference.
only showed up for the first one.
So that's two public appearances that I know of.
But the awesome part is you could get intimidated at either one.
Hey, you could. Hey, that was a common theme, wasn't it?
Yes, intimidation is a theme of the day. Intimidation in politics.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it. But it's just, I really can't believe that we have that happening.
Well, you start to rock the boat a little bit, and people don't like it. And they think that they can intimidate you to make you back off.
Well, they're pushing the wrong people.
It boils
We
back
know
to the
this.
state of man.
Yep,
Right?
exactly.
Yep.
It really does.
Yeah. The state of man is always like that.
So,
So, yeah, we had packed houses both those nights.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
standing room only.
The first night
night
was
standing room
jam-packed.
only,
Yeah.
I mean, they tried to open another room even.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I don't know if anybody ended up going over there.
Well, their IT guy couldn't quite handle it,
Technical.
I
He
guess.
didn't. He didn't
He
get
could
a.
have called me.
He didn't get a miracle
were
at the
there.
last minute.
I
like
was
we
there.
Did.
Technical difficulties like we were having today, but we, by the grace of God, got through it. I
That
mean, it
was, boy, you know what? That was just like divine intervention there. Literally down to the second.
Yeah.
and we even used the extra 5 minutes that we had. I mean, it was literally down to the second. And then we even had a little bit of dead air there.
I know.
I think I've got it. Oh, look, here we are. We're on the air.
Oh, my gosh. Scramble, scramble,
And
scramble.
nothing like having the Yuba County Sheriff in the house
Well,
and having
yeah.
the soon-to-be Sutter County Sheriff in the house. And I'm looking like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Fly-by-night radio.
Well, we got off our schedule a little bit because we're normally here an hour early, getting ready, getting things set up.
Oh, but the 5th Street Bridge stopped that from happening.
Yes, that was
Oh, what a mess. Oh, well.
Yeah.
We're here now. We're
It's
good.
construction. It's messy. It's dirty. It's inconvenient. Just deal with it.
I don't like it.
Yeah, deal with it. Yes, exactly. Knock it off. Man up.
Okay.
Well,
okay,
we had
okay.
a good candidate forum on the first night with the sheriffs and the district attorneys,
Yes.
candidates, and the incumbent. And I thought it was very good to hear from all three of the sheriff candidates and also the district attorney candidates.
Yes.
The following night was a little bit different because the district attorney did not show for that meeting. And so it was all Chris Carlos.
And there's going to be another Chris Carlos extravaganza on the 21st out at Glad Tidings Church, Sutterbury's Tea Party. And then if the Yuba County Sheriff's candidates are listening, I'd like to invite them both, Tang and
Wendell.
Anderson, Wendell. Yeah.
You know, it's you got to show up.
Yeah.
I think you got to show
Yeah,
up.
if you're not
If
coming
you're
out,
in the game, you got to show up.
you're right.
Pastor Dave always says, you got to show up to the showdown.
We know.
Yes.
We've heard.
Well, I mean, but they're not getting it. They're not getting it.
Yeah.
Until they get it, I'm going to keep saying it.
Okay.
How about that?
All right. Then you're probably going to have to keep saying that a lot.
Personally, I liked what Chris Carlos had to say about the way to run the district attorney's office, where it's run
Vertical.
The vertical.
vertical way. Yes.
Could you imagine?
Imposterous.
Okay.
I mean, ideally, everybody that is going through the system has a presumption of innocence.
Well,
right?
check it out, Tom. Could you imagine showing up to the job site? Every time you show up, there's a different project manager and a different superintendent on the job site. Can you imagine how anything is going to get done? And now, take that and you're dealing with somebody's life that you're trying.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so now.
Yeah, the outcome of that process is directly affecting the rest of their life.
Exactly. So really, you're going to switch that up. I didn't even know that happened, and there's got to be a way to remedy that to where the vertical prosecution has to be able to happen to where at least you have some continuity to keep with the same program.
Right.
Because balls are going to get dropped, things are going to get missed. If you're not seeing it all the way through, I mean, some of the case files that I've seen on different things, just looking through the news and things like that, there's some of them that are, 3 to 4 inches thick. And if you throw somebody new on that, how are they going to get up to speed if they're messing with 40, 50 cases?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you don't
They're
read
not.
the whole thing. You got to pass it in order to know what you're going to get.
You got to pass it to know what's
Oh,
in it.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nancy
So you got
Pelosi
to
program.
prosecute somebody to know what's in it.
Yeah. After you prosecute them, then you figure, oh, shoot, I was wrong about that.
Oh, that's kind of like a Salem witch hunt.
I
You
think,
drowned them, and if they don't drown, then you burn them at the stake because obviously they were a witch because they didn't drown. Got it.
But if they drowned, well, they weren't a witch.
they weren't a
Oh,
witch.
good. Well,
It's
we
all good.
resolved that. They're not a witch, but oops, they're dead.
Either way, it doesn't work out well.
It doesn't
so
work out
I
well.
definitely like that vertical program a lot better because also what I was seeing and feeling from listening to Chris Carlos was that when the district attorney or the assistant DA runs through the vertical process from start to finish, they themselves get a better read on the person that's being prosecuted, and so I think there is some humanity that takes into the play there, and not everybody needs to go to prison. You know what I mean? And there are those that definitely do, and then there are those who might receive a little bit less and a little mercy at times. So that's what I believe, and I believe I saw that humanity in Chris Carlos, and that struck a nerve with me. So I like the guy.
Well, I'm just even glad he even brought up the process of vertical prosecution because I would have, like Jason said, I would have never even known that it doesn't run that way. I mean, it's so logical that it would run that way. Why is it not? The other way it has been running is just so scattered.
And
So.
I mean, when you're in that position, it is the most.
If you could look at your mic, honey, it would help me out tremendously. Other than spinning around and looking at me, and then spinning around and looking at Tom, and spin back around and look at me, and
Just keep your hand on the volume control, and it's all good. Then I can do what I want.
Look over
Just
here.
do your job.
Look over here. Look over here, Tammy.
Okay, I'm looking over here.
Okay, see where my hand is?
Yes,
That's
it's on
you.
the volume.
That's
I
you.
know. So you're doing good. Just keep it there. I don't want to have to worry about where my head is pointing.
So
Hey, I'm the princess.
both debates.
Are we there yet?
Were well worth listening to. I'm glad that I went.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Yes, they were. It was pretty interesting to see from one night to the next night how quickly things can change in a campaign race. Because Houck had something bothering him the second night. There's no doubt about it. It was like seeing somebody who was just beat.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody naturally has good days and bad days. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, he had two, public appearances right in a row. So
Yeah.
there was something different the
Yeah.
second night. It seemed like.
So I'm not sure, but I just know there was there was something definitely different, but they're doing really well. I'm just glad. I think it's starting to wear on them all a little bit.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, we know firsthand it wears on you. There's just no rest.
Exactly.
Just constantly doing something.
Yes. So campaigning is stressful. I
It's
would
dirty
imagine.
business.
Yes.
What's up, Randy?
Just looking at the time.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow, dang,
What
that went
happened?
by. Why? What happened?
Hey, what happened?
Hey, you're listening to
Inside joke.
KMYC 1410, The Patriot, and 104.5 104.3 FM.
Boy, I'm glad you're doing that because I botched that all up today. And I told Tammy I didn't prepare for this radio show, really. Every time I sit down to prepare for it, I just was not into it for some reason.
There's other things drawing your attention. Squirrel.
Yes. All right, so with that being said, we will be right back. I'm not even going to play an outro because we've got like 4 or 5
3,
seconds.
2, 1.
Yeah, so all right, we'll be right back after this. All right, we're back. And we're back even a little bit late. Look at that, almost a full minute late. We're just batting 1,000 today, aren't we?
What are you going to do?
Exactly. Not too worried about it.
Everybody knows.
Where we live off?
Well, we left off at the candidate forum, did we not?
Yeah, we were talking about the forum.
Ooh, intimidation tactics in politics.
So what happened at the forum was before that, we had a guy that we go to and does some things for us here and there, and kind of got intimidated a little bit by Curtis Grima. Mm-hmm. And so we found out about it, and we thought, man, that was kind of weird. And, I take everything at face value. So if somebody says it's, maybe it wasn't what he thought it was, yada, 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 until I seen it happen firsthand at the candidate forum. Saw it happen firsthand.
Yeah.
And no big deal. It was at the first candidate forum. No big deal. The second night, same thing. So
yeah, the same statements were made 2 nights in a row for 5 or 6 times. It was made.
So that's whenever I decided, you know what, we're going to step into this guy. And I stepped into him just a little bit and told him, you know what, we're going to talk about it on the show, and we're going to blast you just a little bit on the show. So I want to hold true to my promise and blast him a little bit on the show because I told him I would, so I'm not going to back down from that. And so this is it for Curtis Grima. We're not going to talk about it a lot because Lou blew him up pretty hard yesterday. But then Saturday, we went to a party in the afternoon, and my old campaign manager even started saying, you're going to blast Curtis on the radio is what he was hearing, and Curtis is a good guy, and yada, 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 and why do you want to throw him under the bus? Look, I've never thrown anybody under the bus, and I won't throw him under the bus. He jumped in front of the bus. I'm going to hold him there until it hits him. Okay?
That's a good analogy.
You jumped yourself out in front of the bus, buddy. I'm just going to make sure you stay there until it runs your ass over.
Yes, he knew what he was doing. He was very purposeful in the comments he was making. So, when you use that kind of intimidation against people who are obviously we're making a difference if people are worried about it and trying to get us to not say the things that we're saying, then, that to me says I'm doing my job.
And just be forewarned, it isn't going to work here. It's not going to work on the people, and you might as well forget it. Whenever the people are scared of the government and government officials and government servants, let me get that right, there's tyranny. Whenever the government servants fear the people, there's liberty. In my life, there's only room for liberty, so I'm not afraid.
Liberty.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's right.
And that's the way it goes.
Yes.
So I think that's enough said about it. But
now you're talking about throwing people under the bus. We were accused of throwing your old campaign manager under the bus.
Yes, but you know what?
Yeah.
Is it even worth talking about?
No.
Honestly?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gone. It's done. But the fact is this is what I want to get out there, is if you come at us, you're biting off more than you can chew, I promise. Because we're not going to back down. We're not going to go away. We're speaking the truth, and that's how it is. You don't like it? Turn us off.
We're going to continue to practice our God-given right of freedom of speech.
Who gave us the right?
God.
I believe that
Yes,
was
God
the
Almighty.
man.
Yes, the government did not give us that right.
Who are supposed to secure those rights for us?
That would be the
Yes,
government.
yes.
That
Yes,
would
that's
be
their job.
They're supposed to be looking out for us, and I've got some problems with some of them not looking out for us. Some of our
I know what it was though that Curtis didn't get. He didn't see the sign in there that said free speech zone. I think I'm going to just have a shirt made up, and there's some shirts made up that say free speech zone, so they know that's where the zone is, and it's okay for us to speak.
But
our
what the
mind.
free speech
give
zone
me one
is
for-
a map of the United States. Just so you
Yes,
know,
I'm
it's a
gonna
map
say,
of the United States.
It's going to be hard to
With the
get
American
you and
flag.
Curtis in one shirt.
Hey, count me in for one of those shirts.
Okay. I mean, if we just have free speech zone plastered
Yeah.
on the front and back,
Yeah.
and then down the arm we could have tyranny response team, that ought to say enough.
Yes.
So-
I want a shirt like that.
We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be bullied.
Now, I stumbled on this little quote that I had just written down. It was laying in my office. You know, I like quotes, and this one says, "Truth is singular. Versions of the truth are mistruths." You like that?
I like that. You know what is really bugging me? Is there any way you could lower your mic down just a little bit? Because I cannot. No, not you, Tammy. There, now I can see Tom in the eye, and it makes me feel much better. Thank you.
Eyeball to eyeball.
There you
yeah. Yes. That's
Just in case we got to set something straight. Now we can
case
see
we,
eye to
have-
eye.
we need to glare at each other from time to time. Yes.
Now, you know,
Yes.
Tom, there's another quote, and it's from one of our founders. It's, the guy that made the beer, Samuel Adams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The guy that made the beer.
Says, if you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands that feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you. May posterity forget that ye were our countrymen.
And that is beautiful.
That is a beautiful
and
thing.
The best part of it for me is may posterity forget that you were our country.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
May the chains bear lightly on your shoulders. I have no chains,
Yes.
obviously.
Hey, you're talking about a time when, they had slave ships out in the
Yeah.
harbor, right?
Yes.
And those guys that went on to those American patriots that went onto them slave ships, most of them never came back.
Never came back. And were in chains. That's
yes,
right.
Horrendous treatment by the
But
British.
that was the first Civil War.
Yeah.
It was a Civil War. We were Englishmen at that time.
Oh yes.
They
Yeah,
call it the
that's-
Revolutionary
that's
War,
true,
but
that's
it was
true.
a Civil War.
Yes.
The war for independence.
I'm American, not British.
Americans.
Yeah. I don't like the bloody redcoats.
Well, here's the thing that so many people are forgetting these days, because there's so much cutthroat going on in these campaigns, and honestly, it's not the candidates themselves. The candidates themselves, from what I see, are running clean campaigns. It's the others that are commenting on their pages that are drawing in all the negativity.
That might be us.
Oh, hey, we're all doing it.
I'll have to argue that with you a little bit, Tammy, because I got to refer back to the article in the paper that we discussed a couple weeks ago, where the district attorney definitely
Blasted.
accused
She made an accusation.
Chris Carlos and what's it?
Jason Parker.
Jason
Yeah.
Parker. Yeah.
Yes, completely without merit, without evidence, without backing. That was wrong. Yeah,
That
he
was
should
direct
not-
involvement by the candidate and attack, unwarranted attack, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's a good
I read
point.
the whole article, and that's what hit home the most for me.
Well, and
was that attack like that.
yesterday Lou Benninger really hit it on the head with what he said, the common reaction should be. We all have done something in our past. We all have somebody in our family that, whenever they rear their ugly head, you're going to be like, yeah, well, that is my cousin, and yeah, he has some issues. And you know what? Fact is, I can't control what he does or says. All I can do is tell you it wasn't true. It was false. And
That's what her mom
neither here
said.
nor there. Take a look at it.
Yeah, and left it at that.
Yep.
But don't have to disparage the other two guys. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on
Her
the
mom
matter.
cleared her completely.
Yes.
Well, the authorities cleared her
Oh,
completely,
I was-
according to her mother.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know that it was
I
a
don't
very
know
odd
if that
comment.
was her mom or not, but the fact is if it was her mom, Well, that was not a cool statement.
No, not cool.
So and Luke brought up something else about young James, and I like young James. I really do.
We all do, I think.
My nephews grew up with him down there in Pleasant Grove area, Trowbridge. I grew up in East Nicholas or Nicholas area when I was a kid. But why, young James? Why are you continually promoting losers?
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
The endorsement. What's up with that?
What
Why?
is that? Who are you looking out for? What does Travis Allen owe you, or you owe him?
Actually, then there's two endorsements because I was thinking of the DA endorsement.
Oh yes, and Amanda, yes, and
but then letting his minion Curtis run rampant around the county.
Yes, and I think we should make that clear because not everybody knows who Curtis Grima is. He's the chief of staff of James Gallagher.
Yes.
So completely from my perspective, I'm wondering, okay, if you're the chief of staff of an assemblyman and you're going around conducting yourself using these intimidation tactics, is that really coming from Curtis Grima or is he getting direction? I have to, from my perspective, wonder.
Good question.
I really have to wonder.
Yeah.
I would imagine everybody would wonder the same way.
Yeah, I would.
Didn't Curtis get paid something from Amanda's? Isn't
Yes,
that on his 540?
yes, because we're monitoring the 460s and we're looking at where campaign funds are coming from, and that was a very interesting find on Amanda Hopper's 460.
This is news to me. So she did pay him some, because I asked him if that was his candidate, and he told me no.
Oh no! Well,
Oh, yeah.
see, he runs a company, Sacramento Valley Services, I think is what it's called. I'll have to look it up here. I got the 460 on my computer somewhere. But it had his home address listed with his business name, and he had been paid was somewhere around $2,000, maybe closer to $3,000. But he was paid by her campaign, and it listed the services as being for fundraisers and computer, like internet, web services.
Well, you guys were there whenever I asked him about why he was supporting her and what his candidate was doing.
Yeah, I heard him say it's not my candidate.
It's not my
Yeah.
candidate.
He was talking to DeVore. Ken
Sacramento Valley Solutions. I have it pulled up on my computer. This is the Amanda Hopper 460 form filed with the Secretary of State. And it is declared on here that Sacramento Valley Solutions was paid, it was a little under $2,000. It was $1,922. And the services provided were fundraising events, information technology costs, including internet and email, and then what does TL stand for? TV or cable airtime and production costs.
That sure sounds like my candidate. That's what my
Well, it
guy
sounds
did
like
for me.
a sideline business that he
Yeah.
has.
Well, no, but I mean, if I asked my campaign, if somebody asked my campaign manager at the time if that was my campaign manager, and he said no, I'd be what do you mean no?
Thomas, you own a business in the city, don't you?
Yes.
You got a business license?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By
Believe
the
me,
way, the home address that was used
the city makes
on here
sure
doesn't
that,
have a business license.
they have those.
Doesn't have a business license.
Right. There is no business license issued to the home address on the form. So,
All right.
but I kind of have loose perspective on that.
Exactly.
I'm not a fan of government permits.
I'm
so
not a fan of permits
You
at all.
won't, you won't get any.
Yes.
Which
any
David
blame for me.
David Joyce sure is. He's a big fan of permits, but I'm not allowed to talk about him because I'm not a Yuba County resident.
No, you
So
don't
I'd have
have
to
a dog
defer
in
to
that
Randy
fight.
on
Hey,
that.
I
Do you
got
think-
history in Yuba County. My kin helped establish this county. Andy.
Well,
I think
Randy,
Yuba Sutter
wink,
County.
wink. Do you have anything to say about David Joyce or no?
Well, not really. There's not much to say about it.
Do you think the county is stronger than the private property owner? Because that's
that
what
would
David
be-
Joyce thinks.
A really big no.
Okay.
A great big no.
Okay.
And I don't see a whole lot of his signs around.
I
mean,
see. Believe it or not, he has like 4 over by the Peachtree Mall.
I thought
Out of
maybe they
all
were
the
filling those
places.
potholes with them or something. I'm not sure.
No, that's sand.
Oh, that's
You-
right.
apparently
well,
use
you got to
sand
put
to fill-
something on top of the sand to hold it down.
There you go.
And even though Andy fired me yesterday, 15, 20 seconds into, well, not even into the show before the show aired.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like a fish story. Now it was 35 seconds earlier.
Well, whatever it was, okay,
was this
it was
long?
literally from that door right there to this door right here. I was fired. Okay,
Wow.
it was literally whatever that is, 20 steps, 15 steps. So let's do it in steps. Let's call
there
it
you
20
go.
steps.
20 steps.
I was fired, and you know,
Technically, you can't be fired for a position you volunteered for.
That's true.
sure you can. I was.
You were released.
You were released.
And he goes, we're just not going to see eye to eye. And not only that, but today I'm going to educate the county on the water rights in the water board. Well, I didn't hear anything but Fox News.
Well, that's
Well, we heard
after
some
he
dead air. We heard a lot of dead air, some static.
educated
occasionally.
himself on how to use the board.
I'm very interested in that water program.
I am too.
So-
Well, I've been
I
doing
don't-
a lot of reading. It's very complex.
Is it?
A lot of
Well, we're going to try and get somebody in here to explain.
Well,
it to
Randy's
us.
been doing his research, and he's going to be trying to break it down. But,
All right.
but yeah, we
No.
are going to have a discussion about that.
Now, when I was at the one Yuba County candidate forum, the guy, what's his name, Alton Wright, he did make the statement that the water issue was too difficult to understand for the average guy.
Oh, you're too stupid.
But I think I'm a little above average. And I think I'm going to be able to understand it, you know? I don't think it's, what do you don't say rocket science, what do you say, rocket surgery?
Rocket
surgery.
surgery.
Yeah, I don't think it's rocket surgery.
It's not rocket
I'll,
surgery.
I'll monitor, make sure that the smoke doesn't come out of your ears while he's trying to explain it to you.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that I'm going to be able to understand it fully,
well, the more I read about it, I
and I
think
want to.
I think they actually did a lot of their wording on purpose so that it's trying
Yeah.
that you don't understand it.
Oh,
You're killing me, Smalls.
that's kind of what.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, that's
So they got a lawyer to twist it up and make it hard to understand, huh? Is that what you're saying? Could very well be. That's common practice these days.
yep.
Baby, you just ain't into nothing yet. It's something that you're never gonna forget.
I'll say one thing about it. I think it's got the potential to really tick off a lot of people.
Well, then the spotlight's going to love it.
Well, we'll have to get Joyce on it because he's got zero tolerance. Zero.
Zero.
Anybody that speaks about zero tolerance the way he does, I just don't want nothing to do with.
Well,
Why? Well, why?
when it comes to water, it seems to be one of the biggest profiteering programs
Absolutely.
in this country and around the world, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
This is what I hear when I hear zero tolerance. Yep.
That's German for no.
Ooh.
Yes, I know things.
You think you're,
Yeah.
because you know words.
Yep. Think I'm hot stuff because I know words. So I kind of want to get into before I don't know if we're ready to get into
We
it.
run out of time.
Yeah, before we run out of time.
Well, this is going to take a little bit of time if we're getting into what I think you're getting into.
Actually, what I was going to jump to was our candidate picks.
That's what I thought was
Yeah.
going to take a little while.
Okay. Yeah, because we didn't want to because you know what? We here at the Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight, we're very independent thinkers. And we may not all necessarily agree on 100% on her candidate selections, but we also agree with Ronald Reagan, who said the person who agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor. So
Andy.
yeah.
Can you say that one more time for Andy Vasquez?
The person who agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor.
One more time for Andy Vasquez.
Okay. Ronald Reagan speaking. The person who agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor.
But he's also not a kiss butt.
Yes.
Now, did you notice Tammy's voice escalated the third time? So don't ask her to say that a fourth time.
I'm not.
She's got a knife.
But I just want everybody to get it, because in our community, it seems like that you're either with somebody
Yes.
or you're against somebody.
Yes.
There's no, like, Tom and I know we are going to disagree.
Yes.
We're good friends, but we know we're not always going to see eye to eye, and we agree to disagree. And that's something Andy said to me as he was firing me. We're just going to have to agree to disagree. Now get out of here.
You know what?
I'm like,
Losing one vote in 7 years.
Are you drawing unemployment?
And we threw him under the bus.
well, I mean, I don't know. I just don't get where in this area you're either with me or you're against me. There's no gray area of, okay, we agree on
we see that in the Republican Party a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Yes.
Big time. And
So let's what candidate you want to talk about first here?
well, I kind of want to go through my slate, and then
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about each opening and then kind of do a roundtable on who thinks who? Does that work?
Would you guys mind if we talked about the two, what I think are important state races? Can we talk about our selection for state governor and Congress? Oh, I guess one's federal. They're not both state. So the U.S. Congress selection and the state governor, would you guys be okay
Yes,
doing
let's
that?
talk about
And
it.
then our
about it.
local guys.
Yes.
Okay, because
Do we want to talk about everybody on the ballot for state governor?
no,
Oh, no.
we don't want to talk about all 20
I
of
don't
them.
think we have that much time.
I don't think we have enough time just to name them all.
Well, I've seen some commercials on TV with these candidates that have made me sick.
I don't watch
Just
TV.
hearing it. So
Thank
yeah.
goodness we don't have to suffer through that.
Yes.
I think your city of Yuba City Council ballot's going to look similar to the
Yes.
governor ballot.
It may have a dozen people on it, or maybe more.
Yeah, they're going
That's
to need
okay.
to buy more paper.
So
I'm going to buy that top spot again.
All right.
I mean, maybe I'll look out and get it.
John Cox for governor.
John Cox.
That's what you have written here.
That is my selection for governor. Yes, John
Okay.
Cox.
It's my selection, too.
And why?
Well, you know what? Here's the interesting thing. When he early on, we were at a.
We voted against endorsing him, believe it or not.
I did because it was too early. I didn't have enough information. I hadn't heard from the other candidates, and the California Impact Republicans convention that we were at in Southern California. No, it wasn't Southern California.
Harris Ranch.
Yeah, Harris Ranch. They
Mid-California.
wanted to go ahead and do an endorsement, but it was really early on. This was like last
February of
last year.
last
Yeah.
year. Yes.
Yeah. So he was there. He gave a speech, and I really I kind of was questioning some of the things that he was presenting. I didn't understand the whole neighborhood representative thing. It seemed like a lot of bureaucracy he was trying to add. I didn't.
Still don't agree with that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Again,
But-
30% of the time.
Exactly. So that's where it comes down to is once you start hearing from the other candidates and you compare them, you really got to look at who you align with most of the time because you're not
Yeah.
going to agree with any of them 100%. It's rare. You know, it does happen occasionally, I suppose, but it's rare. And you know, as things developed, I did come around, but I didn't vote at that initial when we were doing, and they went ahead and did and endorsed him from that meeting.
Yeah.
But I did not vote because I didn't agree that we should be endorsing so early on when we hadn't heard from all. Not everybody had even filed at that time. I don't think.
No.
I think
No.
the period was still open to where you could file papers. So
Whoa, there's a hawk here for governor. Oh, that's Hawk. I was thinking maybe you wanted to really, really be governor too. Never mind. I'm
What are
sorry.
you looking at? Your sample ballot?
Yeah, I'm looking at my sample ballot. I was like, there's a hawk here too. And then I thought maybe you really, really, really wanted to be governor along with sheriff, but no, that's hawk, not
So
hawk.
your mail-in ballots come out next week?
I think they're being mailed out tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll probably get them Tuesday.
I think they mail out Tuesday.
Oh,
I don't know.
one of
I
the
don't
two they're going out this week, so you may
Either
get
way.
it Tuesday.
So there are two conservative people running for
Yes.
governor. One John Cox, and the other one's a carnival barker, Travis Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of a old-time radio preacher. Sort of like Jim Nielsen.
Yeah. But something to keep in mind is it looks like John Cox is leading in the polls, isn't he?
John Cox has been leading since day one, and he's increasing his lead.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't understand.
Then we should all get
Young
behind him
James.
because we can only have one. And
Yeah.
we definitely
Top
don't want
two,
to
yeah.
split the vote.
It's top two,
Absolutely.
and he's in second place. He's been in second place. He's a secure, solid second place.
So I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's what all the Republican Central Committees are doing is getting behind John Cox because
well,
he's the front runner, right?
Yeah, well, see, there's this thing about the Sutter County Central Committee.
What do you mean?
Well, for some reason, they let young James in there to promote Travis Allen, and they had a vote on it and kicked all the other common Republicans out. You know, if you weren't a member or a delegate, or an alternate.
Closed meeting type thing.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you know, and somehow, a guy I know called the head of that Central Committee and asked that a standing congressman, Doug LaMalfa, come down and speak in favor of John Cox, but that was refused because there just wasn't enough time. Not enough time.
Well, it looks
Not
like,
enough time. So they went ahead and endorsed Travis Allen.
No, it
Right?
lost by a vote.
Oh, well, good. Somebody
So
was thinking.
So who'd they endorse for governor? They endorsed
They,
John
did,
Cox,
they
right?
they
didn't
did.
endorse anybody.
They didn't have time, apparently.
But they did do a blanket endorsement of Charlie Shoup.
Yes.
Well, that's good. At least they got something right.
Well,
Yeah. And I had brought a young person to that meeting because they're very much interested in taking part in that process and getting more involved in politics. And
What?
yeah,
A young person?
A young
a young
person.
And
Yes.
I witnessed it too.
a young person, very, very enthusiastic, wanting to take part. And what happens the second we walk in the room? We're told to leave. Nope, sorry, this is going to be a closed meeting. We're going to take a vote. You guys can't be here. So that was discouragement number one.
You know, I can't find the bylaws for the Sutter County Republican Central Committee
listen,
online
this
anywhere.
is going to get better because the next day I receive a text from this young person, and they're like, you know what? I was thinking about it, and because we heard the news of what happened with the vote, and they blanket endorsed several candidates, and one of them was Amanda Hopper, DA.
Yes.
Well, we had been at the forum that day, and he only went to the one forum. He didn't go to the he wanted to go to the Republican Central Committee's forum for the candidates. He went to that one, so he didn't even get to see Amanda Hopper. He knew she didn't show up, and he said in his text, he's like, what I don't understand is why they would endorse this person who didn't even show up for their own forum. You know, and that was discouragement number two. Could that be why there's no young people on the Central Committee?
That could be.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, it's
So,
a good old boy. Or
How about
girl sister?
Charlie Shoup?
So
Now, he's been around a while.
So we're all in agreement then John Cox is how we're gonna
Are we all in
possibly
agreement?
I'm
Absolutely.
voting for John Cox.
Okay.
I'm voting for John
And we better
Cox.
get this right. That people, they better pull their head out of the hole in the ground and realize how important this is, because
It's the
Gavin
top
Newsom
two.
cannot be the governor of California.
If he gets
Yeah.
to be governor, then I'm going with Randy.
I mean, I shouldn't really.
You're
I
gonna have
care
to
because
knock me out of the way.
I'm gonna hide out in the bed of his
Me,
new
I'm,
truck.
I'm going to get into some diligent prayer for an earthquake.
All right, so
So U.S. Congress, my pick, Charlie Shoup.
Charlie Shoup.
mine too.
Yes.
You know, and if for no other reason, because of his salute to the
Yeah.
Pledge of Allegiance, that was really awesome. I really enjoyed that.
He's
it
a
was
former
good.
Marine.
Yeah, he's a former Marine.
Yeah.
Conservative.
He's been around in the political game for quite a while because I've listened to him speak
And, you know,
several times
Ronald
over the
Reagan-
last 10 years.
Ronald Reagan said, you know, most people go through their life wondering if they made a difference. A Marine doesn't have to wonder. He knows he made a
that's
difference. So, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I thought so.
Okay. We're to the
Okay,
Yuba
going-
County Sheriff, or Sutter County Sheriff.
Sutter County Sheriff, Brandon Barnes. And I'm telling you, it was a hard decision
I
for me
know.
for a while there. I'm going, oh my gosh, I like Jeff Pierce too. They both sound amazing. And truly, when it all comes down to it, I wouldn't be sad if, if either one of those guys got in. But I have to say, Brandon Barnes has just really rose to the top and just above and beyond.
He's got 30 grand in reserve that he hasn't spent yet. So
so keep a lookout for your mailboxes, I'm
right.
sure. That's where that's going.
Well, I really, really like the guy. I've spent now a considerable amount of time with him compared to other candidates and stuff and talking to him. And I really, really like the guy. I think he's going to be one heck of a sheriff. And I think he'll be there for the long haul. And I think he's got a good wit about him. I mean, we had him on the radio show earlier today. And Tom asked him some pretty tough questions. I mean, Tom's not a softball pitcher. They're hardball questions, and he ain't afraid to drill you with one or two and give you the walk.
Well, I'm interested in his community policing program. So I like the guy. One thing I liked was on his candidate forum. This was the first one this week, where at the very end he gave his closing statements and he had it all prepared. And you could say it's good to shoot from the hip, but it's also good to be prepared and do a little of both, which he did. And that really impressed me.
Well, and the other thing that impresses me is he knows when to dress up, he knows when to dress down, he knows when it's casual, and he wants to be approachable. He also knows when it's time to put on a tie and a suit. And, he really gets the full gamut. I mean, I think it would be a really good representation. I really think our sheriff should be at the leading the county, and everybody else should kind of take a role from him and kind of mirror that image. And I think our city council and our supervisors could darn sure take some lessons from the guy.
Yes.
On just being a straight shooter and playing and not playing the part, but actually doing the role.
He's in his 40s, so he's got time,
Yeah.
And but it's a difficult for me because people changing all the time.
Yep.
So he could.
But you know what? He
could change
hasn't
for
wavered.
the better. He could change for the worse.
But he hasn't wavered in his campaign. He has not wavered.
Yeah.
But neither has Jeff
No.
at all.
Yes.
Jeff Pierce has not wavered at all either. So I mean, they're both straight shooters, no garbage on them.
Personally, I feel like Jeff. He's a guy I like. I mean, I like them both, but I like Jeff, and the reason is for me is because I'm a constitutional lover. Okay, and he seems to be have a better grip on the Constitution, in my opinion. And I like the fact that he's seasoned a little more. So, but like I said, either way, I would not be disappointed with Brandon Barnes or with Jeff Pierce.
Yeah, both of them more peace officers than than law enforcement.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like both of them would be good, strong peace officers. Dennis Houck, he's the other candidate. I don't.
He's a traffic cop.
Yeah, I feel like he's more a lover of the system and the people that are in the system. Kind of like he's part of the Klan or the Good Old Boy Network. That's the kind
I
of.
can see what you're going to be accused of now with that statement.
Well, I'm just giving my thoughts on it, and I don't.
Well, look at who's endorsed him.
That's what I was going to bring up.
But look at his friends.
When you look who's going to endorse him, a lot of those people do not do endorsements without expecting.
Exactly.
And I know that for a fact.
So I'd rather have somebody that I wouldn't consider a swamp swimmer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and somebody that's not.
Speaking of the swamp swim, I wonder if that's what they use that little fountain for at City Hall. Is that's the swamp that you get baptized in whenever you become a counselor or whatever? Because it was looking pretty green the other day. I noticed.
I noticed that too.
And I'm like, I wonder if that's their little swamp deal.
If it was, there wouldn't be no coins left in the bottom.
That's also a good point.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
But I just wondered because it was looking a little green, so I was like, I wonder if that's where the baptism happened.
Now, just as an aside, and interject here, the fountain in Ellis Lake is up and running again in limited hours on the weekends.
Oh, I heard that was a big push, and they spent some money on that.
I don't know. It sounded like there was an organization that funded it.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
As long as it didn't come out of my tax money. Oh, wait, I don't live in
That's
Yuba
right.
County.
You haven't got
I
any
don't
dogs
have
in
a
this
dog
fight.
in that fight.
You have a little dog in the fight. It's
I
a
know.
poodle.
Well, and that's what I was
I'm a
telling
poodle
Tammy
now?
is. Well, no, it's like a little chihuahua.
He's a
It's a
I
little
don't have
chihuahua.
a big dog because I only pay
but-
gas tax over here, and if I buy something, like I'm sure that you went to the whatchamacallit, Jim Boy's in here in Marysville, right?
Yep.
So you got hit with the 1 cent sales
Yep.
tax. But you don't have a dog in a fight.
Well, he's got a big
Randy
dog.
does,
He's got
'cause
a
he
big
lives
dog.
here.
Oh yeah, Randy's
I
got
got
the
a
big
Saint
dog.
Bernard.
Have you ever
I have a chihuahua.
have you ever been attacked by a pack of chihuahuas?
They'll bark you to death.
grab the first one by the tail and beat the rest of them with that one.
Every chihuahua owner seems to own about 8 more.
They like the yap.
Yeah.
Are
Yep,
you
yep,
listening,
yep,
little
yep, yep,
brother?
Well, so anyways, we don't have a dog in that fight, but Randy sure does. And unfortunately, you don't live in District 1, so you can't vote for Andy. But,
So on to Chris Carlos.
Yeah, Chris Carlos,
And
Sutter County DA.
Yes, Chris Carlos is my pick for Sutter County DA.
No,
Here.
Les he is just an out-and-out liar, and I don't take that from the man at all.
and
He's
you know what?
answered every one of my questions to my satisfaction.
Check it out. It's 4 years. We tried Amanda out for 4 years. It ain't working out.
Yeah.
Let's try something else for 4 years. And the big thing is a year into it, we need to be looking for somebody to run for DA that we all trust, that we all know, and get on them. And I mean, we were blessed with the sheriffs we have running, with the sheriff candidates we have running. We got the luck of the draw and got 2 really good ones. We need to do the same thing for DA and hunt around.
well, every responsible citizen's job is to be a watchdog
Yep.
on these guys. So we'll watch Chris Carlos if he wins, which I think he will, and then he might turn out to be a great district attorney.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So
There's too much of a cloud of chaos hovering over the current DA office right now for me to have any faith in that.
now
Continuing
Continue that.
I was told, by somebody that, he's a Democrat. That's what someone said to me. He's a Democrat, and I thought to myself, there's a lot of Republicans I don't like.
Exactly.
well, you know what else?
John McCain's one of them.
Oh, you bet that. So
Well,
that doesn't mean much to me, man.
No,
No.
and let's clarify, he is not a registered Democrat right now. He is not. He
He's
is.
registered independent,
Declined to
right?
state.
I think it's declined to state.
I thought it was independent, but regardless, he's not a
Regardless,
Republican.
yeah.
And some people out there believe, and I saw a quote on Facebook that was posted to my Facebook page whenever I brought out the Curtis Grima deal, that Curtis Grima believes it's Republican no matter what they are. I mean,
Yep.
regardless of how bad they are,
Regardless of their character or their
qualifications
qualities.
or anything else, Republican all the way.
Well, there's a lot of Republicans that aren't Republicans.
Exactly.
Yeah, they call them rhinos. right?
But the whole thing is, they
That's
got that
what
R
I call them.
on their voter registration.
Right.
He's behind them 100%, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what?
Not my style.
Feel the people out, man.
Yeah.
It's a nonpartisan race. Now I get you. I align more with Republicans.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't doubt it. But the problem is you need to be very, very careful just going that route because you can be affiliated with any party that you just re-register with.
And like everybody, us in this room, the voter out there, or these people that are running for office, we all have room for more education.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, to learn more, and to understand what's really going on.
Well, and I believe I align more with the Libertarian Party, but it gets you
Oh,
nowhere.
I do on a lot of things. Absolutely.
But it gets you nowhere. So you got to be Republican. So I mean, it's one of those things of be very careful.
Yeah, you got to be smart enough to play the game too,
Exactly.
right? So let's move on to
Okay.
Joe Hendricks, because we're.
On to Joe Hendricks. So I take it that's who we're all voting for.
Oh.
Joe Hendricks.
Well, that's who I'm voting for.
looking at
I did
Tammy's
the
picks.
agenda,
She
so
wrote-
they got my picks
Yeah.
in front of them. So I said these are mine, but you guys say whatever you want.
So
I'm not voting for any of them.
Tammy, why you like Joe?
I like Joe because he has pointed out some things, specifically at this last candidate forum that we were at. He was pointing out that there was a change in how some funding was provided to the districts, where before this funding was earmarked for ROP programs, and so they had to be spent on the ROP programs. The money is still going to the district. It's still there, but it's not earmarked anymore. So all that did was release the limitation to where they could now spend it on other things. And so my impression was, and what I heard was that the money is no longer being applied to the ROP programs. It's being redirected because the restriction's not there anymore. They're free to spend it wherever they want, and I received the impression that they were taking away programs that were technical training, vocational training, work experience type of training, and redirecting it to other programs. So now there's this deficiency. And that's what he was trying to draw attention to. And I went on his website or his Facebook page the other day and saw that he had put up some actual documents that basically backed up what he was saying. He's like, well, here it is. And you can see that, here's the change, here's the money, it's in the budget, and, here's, he kind of laid it out in paper, which I really appreciated. But I like, I've had several conversations with him one-on-one, and I do like what he has to say. I have reservations about the other two because the impression I got, and people that I align with very closely do not agree with me on this fact that my impression, because Common Core is very near to my soul. I changed my son out of public school as soon as it got implemented. He was he's over at Faith Christian now, and we're very much happy with that change. But so to me, I got the impression that these people did not want to say anything negative about Common Core. They were trying to educate us all, saying you guys just don't understand, and you have to understand what it's all about before you can make your decision. But to me, it's heinous. It's the worst thing to happen to our education system in ever. I believe local control needs to happen to education. There should not be a Department of Education. It should be controlled locally with the school districts, and they should have a say in their curriculum. And there should not be these standards that apply blanketly to the entire population. It doesn't work. So they did not come across to me as being not supportive of that enough. They seemed to me more that they were in support of it because they did not want to say anything bad about it. They spoke very tried to come across as somewhat neutral, but really didn't even come across as neutral because they were trying to convince you that, well, it's not as bad as you think. You just don't understand.
And it is.
Yeah, it's heinous.
Us poor fools out here just don't understand.
We just don't understand.
So, I have not looked into any of these candidates, so I'm going to defer to your judgment. And,
I'm going to defer.
Joe's got my vote.
Defer until Monday. I have not been to any of the superintendent schools forums. Sutter Butte's Tea Party is holding one this coming Monday on the 7th, 6:30, 6 o'clock. All four, Frank Ravelas is running in Yuba County unopposed, and from what I understand, he's a decent man. And in Sutter County, we have Ball Dillon and Joe Hendricks and Tom Rooser. So
okay, well, I forgot about that forum, so
yeah.
It'll help me tomorrow to get a little.
Now I'm
better
sure we're going to
understanding.
have a lot of good questions.
It's on the agenda next to to mention it.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
have any further comment on Joe Hendricks?
Yeah, actually, I did real quick. Joe Hendricks is about the only one who believes in not so much college, but ROP and on-the-job training. And you know what, guys? Right now, there's a big lack of that. I
Absolutely.
mean, there is a big lack. Try and find a welder. Try and find an auto mechanic. Try to find a kid, 21 years old, that can do something with his hands. You know, other than a video game. All I got to say is good luck.
You're
Because
right, Jason.
they can't handle driving nails with a hammer. They can't run a planer. They can't run a welder. They can't spin wrenches on a car. They're pretty much, I mean, and I hate to say it, but they're pretty much just Burger King, McDonald's. That's about it at this point.
Well,
And
I've got a
even-
15-year-old daughter that can weld pretty well. We've been welding
Yeah, but where
That's
did she
wonderful.
learn it? Where did she learn it, Randy?
from me.
From you at home.
Yep.
Because it's not offered at school anymore.
Yep. We've been working on the trucks together.
And that's what I mean. But I mean, you know, they should be offered.
It is in Yuba County.
What's that?
Automotive, welding.
Not in Sutter, though.
It's pretty big in Wheatland too, at the
Okay.
Wheatland High School.
Well, and that's
At
the
least
thing.
it used to be.
And you know, I got to be a judge for the robotics this year for the robotics class. And
Robotics
actually,
club?
yeah, and Linda has a really good program. But I mean, beyond that, that's kind of it.
It was Lyndhurst High School.
Lyndhurst High School.
Yeah,
that was
Lyndhurst
it.
High School. I think they won an award there.
We actually sent them to the state.
It needs to be strengthened,
Yeah.
though.
Can be.
The ROP needs
does.
to be strengthened. Big
It really,
time.
really does. And I mean, you know, there's jobs coming back that are beginning jobs. The McDonald's jobs are coming back for kids. And they need to do that, and they need to get out in the workforce. They should be expected to get out in the workforce a little bit before they're out of school to learn how to actually take orders and actually how to, you know, do stuff and how to work.
Well, my 15-year-old started her new
Yeah.
job yesterday at
Good.
Collins Lake.
Good.
Oh,
And
great.
that's the thing. I mean, that's huge because it's
She tied
Gone
her
by the
shoes.
wayside.
And they need to learn how to work in Northern California,
Yep.
you know, outside.
It's funny.
Outside.
It's
When
like,
it gets 80 degrees, you can't say, it's too hot.
I got 3 boys that are very productive. They know how to pull their pants up all the way. They can tie their boots.
can wear a
They
belt.
can get to their job on time. I mean, it's
And they
it's
can
amazing.
pass a drug test.
And they can pass a drug test.
Pack their own lunch.
All
How
right.
about that?
Pretty amazing.
Sutter County Supervisor District 3. My pick, and it was a tough one because I was leaning toward Mike Ziegemeyer, but you know what? Burt Manuel pulled it off for me. I'm going with Burt Manuel for this time. I agree. Mike is a good candidate, and I think that as I've heard others say, he may eventually be a supervisor someday, but
Yeah.
maybe not at this point, and that maybe it's not his time. But I think Burt Manuel is a good selection for that.
Me, I like Burt Manuel too, and
Yeah.
I liked him right from the first. When I just saw a sign out there, I just thought, whatever, you know. He didn't make no impression.
Yeah.
But then I went to the forum, and I thought, wow, I like what this guy is saying, you know. And like all of these guys, they still
better crank it up a notch.
they still need better education in the Constitution and our founding fathers. But I felt like he had somewhat of that
Good grasp
going
on
on.
it,
Yeah.
What about you, Bill?
Yeah, I got to go with Bert. He came to the breakfast the other morning and explained himself, and you know, we put him through the ringer, and I attacked him with some stuff that wasn't pertinent, but it was a personal thing between him and somebody else, and
Okay.
he handled it well. And you know, I like Mike. God bless him.
I'm still
But,
Mike.
yeah.
I'm still Mike. I like
Yeah.
his enthusiasm,
Yeah,
and I really like how he's not afraid to say what's on his heart.
yeah,
And I like Mike. I'm gonna
he,
go with
he
Mike.
does talk from the
Yeah.
heart. I got
If
it.
I lived in Sutter, it would be Mike. I liked the way that he answered the question about the church helping the homeless people, and that he wouldn't. I mean, he didn't even hesitate. It was just.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm Mike Ziegermeyer
We're
still.
split in this room 3-2.
Yep.
Well, I can't vote anyways.
And but you know what?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the
I
deal.
can't either.
Is I'm not mad at you guys, and I'm not gonna fire you from the radio show.
Would you please fire me?
So you know what? I mean, and the pay's pretty good out here.
I need an unemployment check.
You know,
I
if
was,
you listen,
I
if
was
you
thinking
listen,
about asking for a raise.
I got
to
my
tell you the
pay
truth.
doubled. You guys didn't get your pay
Look,
doubled?
There's
Are
more
you kidding
tacos
me?
out there.
No.
check it out.
There's still more tacos left.
You know, because I don't know. How can you go wrong here?
Okay, Yuba County Supervisor, District 5, John Missler, my pick. And actually, hands down.
Yes.
There's no competition in my
I
mind.
can't vote for John, but if I lived in Yuba County District 5, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like John Missler too.
His sign's in my front yard.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm Missler all the way. No doubt about it. Don't even care about the others, Missler.
Right next to my Cox for governor.
Is it now you live in District 5, so you can say Missler. Is it all right for us to
So I
talk
have a
about
dog in the race.
Is
Yes.
it okay for us with only poodles and
can you deputize us?
Chihuahuas?
chihuahuas?
Is it all right for us to talk about District 1? Should we call Andy real quick?
If we might want
I
to
don't know. Andy, are you out there?
Because I don't know
Oh,
if we
wait a
should
minute.
even talk
It
about
doesn't say Andy here. It
I
says
know. I
Annie.
just saw that.
Annie
That was a
Vasquez.
typo.
Oh, what?
Yes,
up
Yuba
with
County
that?
Supervisor District 1. My pick apparently is Annie Vasquez.
Any
Any of them will
Vasquez
do, but specifically Andy. Andy Vasquez would be my pick if I were able to give a vote.
See how we let it just run off our shoulders,
And
Andy?
you see how that works? Yeah.
See,
we
here's
can
one
agree
for
to
you,
disagree,
Andy.
and I can still support you.
Well, and here's the thing, Andy. My other, you got Saunders, and the other guy,
It's pretty bad when you're the other guy.
David Joyce. So,
Oh, yeah, I
Andy,
forgot about him.
not that, now I understand I do not have a dog in this fight, and it does not matter. But I would vote for you, even though we disagreed the other day, and
Even
you
though he
fired
fired
me
you.
from a free job. But you know what? Before you fire somebody, just a little bit of advice. Make sure they get the job running for you before you
Yeah.
fire them.
Make sure they get you on the air first.
Yeah.
Then you can kick them out the door.
Then you can boot them out the door.
Because
But
we did not get the education we were looking for that morning. We were going to be educated, and we
Live-
totally missed out.
live and learn, buddy. My dad always told me, you know what? If you live and learn, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Most
right.
people just live.
Yes.
And it wasn't on my list only because I don't live in Yuba County, and to my knowledge, I have not seen a debate between the Yuba County sheriffs.
Yep.
Okay, but I will mention
I
one
did
thing.
see that.
Tom went to it.
Yes.
What?
Yes, I did.
You
I
were
went to
at
it.
something else.
Yes, and
Oh.
We were at the Republicans' party.
yes,
the
it was the
Lincoln
county
Division.
supervisor debate, and also it was District 5 debate, and the sheriffs, and I went to that.
And I'm tired of you guys saying you don't make any
And
money
King
here.
and Wendell, you're welcome to come out on the 21st.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you email or call you, and you sort of missed that first appointment. I know it was tough. Everything was winding up and getting into season, but
they need to-
here's your second chance. And you both asked me to ask you again if
Okay, let's
it
do
came
it.
up. So it's coming up on the 21st.
After I went to that meeting, the guy I liked was Ting.
Yeah,
So
I'm kind of concerned
don't know.
that you guys haven't got your check.
And we're loved everywhere we go. We sing about beauty and we sing about truth at $10,000 a show.
I've not received my $10,000 yet,
I got
Oh,
it.
well,
and
the
that's
check's in the
$10,000
mail.
a show.
I got mine.
The check's in the mail.
hey, can we go back to Andy's
you-
or Annie? Is it Annie or Andy?
It's Annie Vasquez.
Oh,
Kind of
okay.
like I wished I lived
Well,
in
I'm
Yuba
gonna vote
County because
for-
I would vote for Choose a Sousa. Hands down, I wished I could choose a Sousa because I love that sign.
I'm going to vote for Annie Vasquez.
Andy Vasquez.
Hey, you
Any
got to
of
write
them,
this
just
right
any
so
of them
I'm
will
not
do.
tripped up here. No, Andy's got my vote because I like what a lot of the stuff he did on his radio program,
Yeah.
and especially that one with the fathers and the sons.
But he misdirected me down to the Yuba County Council, making me think I could make a
Yeah.
difference if I talked to her, and I couldn't.
Oh, but anyway, he's got my vote. But I'm not voting. But
You don't have a dog in that fight.
That's right. But
You need to talk to
I'm
him
going to
about.
send in one of my chihuahuas to vote.
You need to talk to him about fighting dogs and stuff like that.
But I want to go back to the Sutter County District 3 because Joe Bossy, right? Isn't he running too?
Paul Bossy.
Or Paul,
Paul
Bossy.
Bossy, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't impacted me enough.
doesn't
I
have-
don't even have his
he
first
doesn't
name right.
have my vote.
He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't register on
He
my
didn't
radar.
make the ranks.
He didn't register for
Didn't-
me
was
either.
not on the radar.
But yeah,
Watch
I
your
thought-
Facebook friends.
okay.
Yes.
That's-
Pay
Well,
attention to people's Facebook
He
friends.
seemed like one of the status quo.
We have 1 minute left. I want to make a quick
No, we
point.
don't. We have about 45 seconds.
Pull the candidates 460s. They're available on the Secretary of State website. If you want to know about the candidate, look who's backing them. And that would be why I would, if I lived in Yuba County, I'd probably vote for the Tang guy, because I went and looked at the 460 and I saw some things that, look at where the money's coming from. Follow the money. That will help you decide.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, when I leave, you're gonna have to get somebody else from Yuba County over here.
Yes.
Yeah, well, but you know what? So, quick recap. What do we got?
Tomorrow night, Sutter Butte's Tea Party Patriots Candidate Forum, Sutter County Superintendent of Schools. They will all be there.
Brandon Barnes, thank you for coming in live, buddy.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys. Have a good week.